and set it up. I took number one that I was using and I set up that iPad. And I changed a couple of things on my iPad. That way I don't have to change them on all of my iPads. I can just set it on this one, and then when it restores for my backup, those settings go to all my iPads. And the things that I changed were the auto lock. I changed it from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. It gives me a little bit more time in auto lock. And I also changed the brightness. It's usually set at half power, and I went ahead and just set it up to full power so I can have the full brightness of my iPad. Those two settings don't really matter, but that way I don't have to set them on all of my devices. I kind of just like that as a preference of mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a backup of that iPad. That way I don't have to go through that setup process on each individual iPad. So what I'm going to do is select my iPad that I set up, which was number one here, and then I'm going to go over to Restore. I'm going to click on Restore, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Backup. And it's going to ask me to name this backup. And you can have a lot of different backups here. Say you have it for a social studies class, you can create a backup for social studies class. If you have a science class, you can create a backup for when you're going to use those iPads during your science class. So I'm just going to set it up. I like to just set it up as iPad Cart 1. That way I know which backup it goes to. And that way when I have these iPads, I can just push out that restore and they're all restored up to this iPad Cart 1. So I'm going to go ahead and create my backup. So that's going to take a little bit of time. You can see right here the little clock going, and that's going to just create a backup of your first iPad. It's all about done here. Okay, now it's finished, and what we're going to do is I'm going to choose all iPads, and you notice the name has changed over here. It says no change. This is how I'm going to set up the rest of my iPad. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead in here. We don't need to change the name of them. We've already set up the name. We don't need to change the iOS. And what we do need to change is this iPad Cart 1 right here. This is what I named it. I didn't name it my master. I just named it iPad Cart number 1. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to take that iPad Cart 1 master out of there, I can just go here and select that and go ahead and press that minus. That way I only have that one. Now I don't really need iPad Cart 1 master. So I know this is my restore here, and then I want to set a profile, and this profile will give you an email configuration that will allow you to email from the iPad. It won't accept email, but it will be able to email out from an address from our district. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. I'm going to import that profile, and I'm going to go ahead and locate that profile, which is going to be right here in my untitled folder. Hoping, yep, there it is. So I'm going to choose that profile if it lets me. I'm going to go ahead and open that. That's my WCPSS profile. Go ahead and open that up, and it should import it right into here. I do want to check it because I do want that profile to be out on my iPads. That gives me wireless connection, and that way you don't have to go in and type in Lunenburg, the password to Lunenburg, 400 times. So we're going to go ahead and set that up. It's all good. And then there's one more thing that not a lot of people know about, but can be a really neat thing on your iPads. I'm going to go up here to set where it says Apple Configurator. I'm going to go down to Preferences, and let's say I wanted to add a picture to all of my iPads, and this is going to add a picture to your lock screen. So for example, I have my lock screen here. This is what picture is going to be on all of my iPads. Let's say I wanted to change that, and I want it to be a different picture, and maybe I want it to be like a school emblem or a school mascot picture, and I have one over here on my desktop that's just waiting for me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one over, and as a matter of fact, before I do that, I'm going to check this to iPad, It's a little bit larger. I'm going to take this picture over here. I'm going to drag it right on top of here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and drop it. So that is the picture it's going to show on each one of my iPads now. And if I do want to put some text on the lock screen, I can go ahead and put some custom text on here. I can delete that there. I can say if lost, call the school's phone number. That way when you see the lock screen, it'll actually say that to whoever is looking at the iPad at that time. When you go into Assign, you can actually include user images. So if you get into the Assign portion of Apple Configurator, you can actually assign it. And this would be recommended if you have a one-to-one iPad school or anything like that. It easily lets you put their profiles on there and things like that. But I'm going to just go ahead and stick with this. If lost, call the school's number. I'm going to go ahead and X out of there. And so this is what it shows me so far. I can set up all my iPads. I do want to add some apps to them, so I'm going to go ahead right here where it says settings. I can go over here to apps. I'm going to add some apps to my iPads. What I can do is go down here where it says plus. There are no apps in my Apple Configurator right now, but I'm going to go down here where it says plus. I'm going to add some. And it takes me to a folder called mobile applications. This is where all of your iTunes applications go into that are mobile, of course, when you download from the App Store. So I've downloaded all these apps. I got a lot of them on here. And let's say I just want to choose a few. You probably will have a little bit less than this. Let's say I want to choose, let's say, Chirp. And to choose a couple of them, you just hit that command button. Let's say I want to do Edmodo and Educreations. So I'm going to put those three on them for right now. You can choose more if you wanted to. You can actually pull all of these in there if you wanted to as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit open, and that will put those apps into Apple Configurator. And of course, after you set up your, after you give them your VPP email and iTunes password, that way if it's a paid app, it knows that it's recognizing those redeem codes for that. I don't have, these are all just free apps, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my iTunes password in here. Click OK, and that gets them right in there. So here are my three apps that I want to put on my iPad, so I'm going to go ahead and checkbox those. Let's say I didn't want to put Educreations on them. I just don't checkmark that box there. But I do want to put it on there, so I'm going to go ahead and check it. Now I'm going to go back, kind of make sure I have all my settings. I have no change. I have iPad Cart 1. I'm going to put that profile on there. That will help me out with some configuration. And then I am choosing these three apps to go on all of the iPads. So I have all iPads are highlighted right here. And then I'm going to go down to apply. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And you can see the state of things right here, the state of each iPad. And it'll tell you the stages it's going through. And here's your little timer clock. And when those timer clocks are all filled, you'll have your iPads are going to be all ready to go. And this step is going to take you a little bit longer because it's restoring all your iPads from a backup. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and I'll see you on the next video.